Family as the cell of society. Each of us came into existence through a gift. We did not choose to be, but we were given to be, both by God and by our parents. And the coming into existence of a human being always takes place within a family, which continues to imbue him or her throughout life. The family, for the good or the bad, is not a possession like a bicycle that can be disposed of, nor is it a contract from which the child or parent can withdraw, as the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau claimed. The ideal of human being is independence, or for human beings to be ultimately free, and they must free themselves from all natural and social determination, and place their interpersonal relationships solely on the conventional or elective plane. Such a representation of the family is, however, profoundly counterintuitive. The family is not the result of an agreement modeled on a social contract between solitary, disembodied individuals, or realized by an act of election, as in friendship, for example. Rather, the family is an inescapable, original given from which, fact, a given, we cannot free ourselves. It is the very condition of the exercise of responsible personal freedom in the service of the common good. The family constitutes a primary foundation that has its origin in the order of human nature, whose principle lies in the act of creation motivated by divine love. The family is certainly based on a certain election of a woman and a man, who nevertheless come from given families into which they were received prior to any choice on their part. In turn, they will receive children as a gift. They may choose to have children, but they do not bring them into existence on their own free will. This is how parents and their children became engaged in relationships that deeply permeate them: conjugality, filiality, and fraternity, as well as the extended family. As the Second Vatican Council reminds us, the family in which the various generations came together and helped one another grow wiser and harmonious personal rights with the other requirements of social life is the foundation of society. There are many reasons why the family is the foundation of society. It is here that the child is educated, which consists in the learning not only of language and thought, but also in responsible human action. It is, as Jean-Paul II notes, the first school of how to be human. The purpose of education is not primarily to assume a role and function within society, nor to be a good citizen, but rather to awake persons capable of living and committing themselves as persons. That is to say, beings who are free and responsible for their actions, agents capable of deliberating the good in accordance with human nature. The family is the place where we learn not only to respect the freedom of others, but also to promote the common good, which implies existing for each other in a communio personarum. Such an apprenticeship is vital for life in society. As Aristotle and more recently Alistair MacIntyre emphasized, the family is the place where the virtues that will be central to living in society are nurtured, as well as the place where each person's practical talents are developed, to be put to good use by other members of the family and society. It is also the place where culture, transmission, and exchange between generations takes place. It is important to emphasize here the sovereignty of the smallest community of people over the education of its members, on the model of subsidiarity. Whenever the family is self-sufficient, it should be left to act on its own. Only in those situations where the family is not really self-sufficient does the state have the authority and duty to intervene, Pope John Paul II emphasizes. The family is also the place of the couple spouse's love, which is based on mutual reciprocal self-giving, in a faithful love that is reflected in their gracious love for their children. As John Paul II points out, the family is in fact a community of persons, for whom the true way of existing and living together is communio personarum. He continues, the family as a community of persons is thus the first human society. It arises whenever there comes into being the conjugal covenant of marriage, which opens the spouses to a lasting communion of love and of life, and it is brought to completion in a full and specific way with the procreation of children. The communion of the spouses gives rise to the community of the family. The family is characterized not only by duties to be fulfilled, but also by a gift-debt relationship within a community of love and forgiveness. We can thus note with Jean Paul II that the family is the place where individual can exist for himself through the sincere gift of self. It is in such an experience of self-gift that the unconditional value of the person is lived out, his or her profound dignity, which eludes any attempt to consider him or her as a burden, especially when he or she is in a situation of profound disability or advanced age. In this sense, too, the family is the fundamental foundation of society, particularly as it prepares each new generation to humanize and resisting any barbarism that threatens society. Defending the family, therefore, means preserving a world in which every human being who is always a person is deeply respected and constantly cared for. The family thus plays a vital role in the development and maintenance of authentic humanism. After all, the family provides this context by excellence, where each one experiences the difficulty of human lives, conflicts, tensions, offenses, misunderstanding, infidelity, and even betrayals. This is why one of the constant challenges faced by the family is that of learning, albeit with difficulty, to resolve conflicts and tensions, notably through forgiveness and reconciliation, so that rivalities and clashes do not overshadow the value of the various gifts experienced. The family is therefore a community of mercy, the experience of which is a vital experience for a humanist society. This is why, by promoting the family as the very foundation of society, we can effectively contribute to a more just and human society, where in each person is able to fulfill his or her ultimate destiny. To summarize in the words Jean Paul II, the family is a community of persons and the smallest social unit. As such, it is an institution fundamental to the life of every society.
In the next episode, we'll see what radical self-determination does to human rights and dignity. If this is the first episode you've watched, we recommend you watch the introductory episode of this series next.